You are taught that all debt is bad. For credit cards averaging over 20% interest, that's correct. But the wealthy do not avoid debt. They use it on purpose, as a tool. And it's a main reason they pull away from everyone working the same 40-hour week. The tool is called leverage. Once you see the math, you'll understand why saving alone has a hard ceiling, and why the people who broke past it almost always borrowed to do it. This isn't a pitch to go take on debt. It's the difference between the debt that builds people and the debt that buries them, drawn in numbers, so you can tell which one you're carrying. What leverage actually is. Leverage is using a small amount of your money to control a large amount of something. You put in a little cash, borrow the rest, and control an asset far bigger than your cash could buy outright. Whatever that asset does, up or down, happens to the whole thing, not just your slice. The number that measures this is your return on the cash you actually put in, called cash-on-cash return. It's the only return that matters when you borrow, and it's usually far higher than the asset's own growth rate. A 5% gain on an asset you fully own is a 5% return. A 5% gain on an asset you control with a fraction of your own money is a much bigger return on that money. The math that changes everything. Two people, each with $50,000. Person 1 buys a $50,000 asset in cash. It grows 5% in a year. They made $2,500, a 5% return on their money. Person 2 uses the same $50,000 as a down payment to control a $250,000 asset, borrowing $200,000. It grows the same 5%. 5% of $250,000 is $12,500. On their $50,000 of cash, that's a 25% return, 5 times more, from the same market, because they controlled 5 times as much of it. The ratio there is 5 to 1. You controlled $250,000 with $50,000 of your own. That ratio is the entire game, and it shows up in one place most people never notice. Your own home is already leverage. If you've ever bought a house, you've already used serious leverage. You just weren't told the word. Put 5% down on a $400,000 home, and you controlled $400,000 of real estate with $20,000 of your own money. That's a ratio of 20 to 1. Watch what that does. If the home rises just 5%, from $400,000 to $420,000, that's a $20,000 gain. On your $20,000 of actual cash, that is a 100% return. The house went up 5% and your money doubled, because you controlled 20 times more than you put in. That is the most common act of leverage in the country, and almost nobody calls it what it is. Mark it if you own a home and never realized the down payment was a leveraged bet. Danny's 10 years, in numbers. Real estate stacks several returns on top of each other, which is why it's the classic leverage play. Danny puts $60,000 down on a $300,000 rental, borrowing $240,000. Watch every engine run for 10 years. 1. Appreciation. At 4% a year, the property grows from $300,000 to about $440,000. That's a $140,000 gain on his $60,000 of cash. 2. Principal paydown. The tenant's rent covers the mortgage, and every payment chips away at the loan balance. In the early years, most of each payment is interest, and only a little is principal, but it flips over time, and across 10 years, the $240,000 loan drops by roughly $50,000. The tenant paid that down, not Danny. 3. Cash flow. After the mortgage, taxes, insurance, and upkeep, the rent leaves a few $100s a month in Danny's pocket, another $20,000 to $30,000 over the decade. Add the 3 engines, roughly $140,000 in appreciation, $50,000 in paydown, $25,000 in cash flow, over $200,000 of gain on a $60,000 investment, most of it produced by borrowed money and a tenant. The 4th engine nobody counts. There's a 4th return on top of those 3, tax treatment. Rental owners can deduct a portion of the property's value each year as depreciation, a paper loss that shelters some of the rental income from tax, even while the building is actually rising in value. Combined with deducting the mortgage interest and expenses, This can mean Danny keeps far more of his cash flow than a regular paycheck of the same size would leave him after tax. 4 engines: appreciation, paydown, cash flow, and tax, all running on one $60,000 bet. That is why leverage on the right asset compounds so fast. Recycling the same capital. Here's the move that turns one property into many, and it's the part that separates people with 1 rental from people with 10. After a few years, Danny's property has appreciated and the loan has shrunk, so he now has equity built up inside it. He can borrow against that equity, pull out cash without selling, and use it as the down payment on the next property. His original $60,000 is now working in 2 buildings at once. Done carefully, that same starting capital can be recycled again and again, each property throwing off its own 4 engines. This is how portfolios get built on ordinary incomes, not by saving up a fresh down payment every time from a paycheck, which would take decades, but by letting the assets themselves fund the next purchase. The one rule that keeps leverage safe. Leverage only works when the asset earns more than the loan costs. If your rental returns 8% a year all in, and the mortgage costs 6%, the gap is yours, and it's amplified. That's positive carry. But if the loan costs 8% and the asset only earns 4%, you're paying to lose money faster, magnified the same way the gains would have been. That's negative carry, and it's how leverage destroys people. So the check before you ever borrow is simple. Does this asset reliably earn more than the loan costs? If yes, leverage multiplies your gain. If no, it multiplies your loss. Same tool, and the interest rate decides which direction it points. Mark it if you've ever borrowed for something that earns you nothing. Ray's 10 years in numbers. Ray fears all debt, so he keeps his $60,000 in savings and adds to it. 10 years later, he has a bigger pile of cash. But at 3% inflation, cash loses about a quarter of its buying power over a decade. So the real value grew far less than the balance suggests. Ray rented out his hours and saved the leftovers. Danny used a lever once, then recycled it, and let tenants and time do the rest. Same start, same salary, and the gap between them is now several $100,000 and widening every year. Good debt and bad debt. Good debt buys something that puts money in your pocket or grows in value. A rental, a stake that appreciates, equipment that earns. The asset does the lifting and covers the loan. Bad debt buys something that loses value or just costs you. A car that drops about 20% the first year and half within 5. A vacation on a credit card. A pile of stuff worth less than you owe on it. Same word, opposite outcomes. One is a lever that lifts you. The other is an anchor charging you interest to sink. The wealthy carry only the first kind, and they're ruthless about it. Most people drown in the second kind, then swear off the first out of fear, throwing away the one tool that could have freed them because it shares a name with the thing that's hurting them. Mark it if the debts you carry are mostly anchors, not levers. The risk, said honestly. Leverage magnifies losses exactly as it magnifies gains. Go back to that 20-to-1 home. If the house falls just 5% instead of rising, you don't lose 5%, you lose your entire $20,000 stake, because your thin slice of equity was the first thing wiped out. That's exactly what happened in 2008. Millions of people had bought with almost nothing down, so a modest drop in prices erased their small equity many times over and left them underwater, owing more than the house was worth. Margin loans to buy stocks work the same way, and a sharp drop can trigger a forced sale at the bottom, locking in the loss. The skill is borrowing carefully, on assets that produce income or reliably grow, with a real cash cushion and enough of your own money in that a normal downturn doesn't wipe you out. The wealthy aren't braver than you, they're more careful, and they refuse to let fear of the tool stop them from learning to use it well. Mark it if you'd rather avoid a tool entirely than learn to use it safely. Why your salary has a ceiling. A salary is you renting out your hours, and hours are capped. There are 168 in a week, and you need most of them to sleep and live. However high your rate climbs, Income has a ceiling because time has a ceiling. You will run out of hours long before you run out of ambition. A leveraged asset works whether you're at your desk, asleep, or on vacation. It's a second engine running next to the one you run by hand every day. That's the escape. And a raise isn't it, because a raise is still your hours, the same treadmill, moving a little faster. How the wealthy actually use it. Look at where real wealth sits, and you find leverage everywhere. Businesses expand on loans, not on cash saved from profits. Real estate empires are built on mortgages. Even the richest people often borrow against their assets rather than sell them, because a loan against an appreciating asset can cost less than the taxes on selling it. The pattern is consistent across almost every large fortune. Control more than you own, on carefully chosen assets, and let the spread work for you for decades. The difference between them and the careful saver was never intelligence or income. It was that one group treated borrowing as a precision tool, and the other treated it as a thing to fear. The tool was available to both. The takeaway: the people who broke past their salary did not save harder. There's a limit to how hard you can save, trading finite hours for dollars. They controlled more than they owned, on purpose, on assets that earned more than the loans cost, and let four engines and time compound it. Debt isn't the enemy. Bad debt is. Confusing the lever with the anchor, because they share a name, is what keeps hardworking people renting out their hours for life. Do one thing before you close this. List every debt you carry and sort each into two piles. Does this put money in my pocket or grow in value, or does it just cost me? That sort tells you which debts are levers and which are anchors, and most people are shocked by how few levers they own. Then drop your split in the comments. How many levers? How many anchors? I want to see the real ratio. Like if this reframed the word debt. Subscribe if you want the breakdown on the safest first asset to use leverage on, and exactly how to run the positive carry check. See you in the next one.